Over the last few weeks, I have been talking a lot about my soft season because as I enter 2026, I'm getting clearer with my goals and my intentions, and I'm taking the lessons I learned in 2025 to make 2026 even better. I've been talking about mental noise, overwhelm, the quiet pressure of holding on to too much. And in my last video, I talked about doing a no buy year. But before I even decided to do that, I also decided that I need to clear out my space. Something needed to change inside my home to help me feel the contentment that I am on this journey towards finding. I wasn't just surrounded by clutter, I'm surrounded by what ifs. Things I was keeping just in case, things I felt guilty letting go of. So I decided I have to do something to push me past the surface level decluttering that I've been doing for years. Because obviously, there was something in my decluttering process that wasn't quite leaving me feeling free. Now, I've decluttered before a lot. I constantly have bags that are going out to Goodwill or things going into the trash that we just no longer need. But I've noticed that when I declutter because I feel like it, I'm decluttering the easy stuff, the things that are just, I pass it by and say, oh, yeah, this should go. So I needed something this time that would push me a little bit further, something that would make me a little more uncomfortable. And that is why I chose the 500 item declutter challenge. It gave me a clear finish line. And honestly, it made me more proud than any other random decluttering ever has. So today I want to talk to you about what the 500 item declutter is, why I did it, what I discovered while doing it, and how I'm feeling now that it's done. If you're new here, I'm Kay. I'm a wife, mom to two, accountability coach, and a photographer. And this year, especially, is my soft season. I'm glad to have you along on the journey as I am kinder with myself, gentler with my goals, and I hope you can find a soft space to land where you also can be this way with yourself. So, the logistics I tracked every single item that left. And that's the whole point of the 500 item declutter. Because we can often declutter our lives and just throw things out as they go. And then at the end of it, not notice how much has actually left. And this is where I needed to get very specific. So, as I said, I tracked every single item. This took 4 days. I took Saturday off because we went to the in laws, but I did it on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, finished on Sunday. I did it in small windows of time where I could. And that's why having these sticky notes helped because along the way, I would often forget where I was. So every time I walked through to the donate or trash bags, I left a little check mark. And then I got to color in as I went my 500 item declutter list. So, where did this come from and what are the rules? I saw someone talking about this because there is a 31-day decluttering challenge where every day you declutter the amount of things on that day. So basically, day one would be one item, day two would be two items, day three would be three items, all the way up to 31. But while I understand the idea of building your decluttering muscle by building up to 31 days, I have tried this before, and I actually found that by day 31, I didn't have enough gumption to keep going. Taking 31 days to do this process, especially when the motivation is at the beginning, is really difficult. Because on day one, I only had to declutter one item, but I was motivated and I found myself decluttering a few extra items. So I saw someone talking about how they took that general idea and instead of making themselves do it over 31 days, they just filled in the circles as they decluttered items. And then you get 4 bonus finale items to make this a full 500 items. So the rule is it can be trash. It can be anything that you already planned on decluttering but hasn't left your house yet. It can be things that you want to sell, things you want to donate, etc. Because we are just focusing on getting items out of the house. So yes, some of those items may have been, a random piece of paper that was on my counter that I was already done with that I had never thrown out. That counts. And I think that is what made this sustainable for me. And the lady, if I can try to remember who she was, because I watch a lot of decluttering videos, I will link her down below. But what she mentioned is that it was up to her to decide, like, is this box, am I going to count every individual item in it or just throw out a full box? Sometimes you might find a pile of papers and say, okay, well, this is, 4 papers. So that counts as 4 items. Or you might pick it up and say, this is 1 item and I'm tossing it. And that's going to be up to you. So I did this a few times where I might count every item that I decluttered. I took a bunch of sample skincare kind of packets and I counted that as one because I didn't want to go through and count all of them individually to try to figure out like how many it was. I just tossed the whole chunk. So that will be up to you. And if you choose to do this challenge, you can decide exactly how many items. So I may have technically decluttered more than 500, but every once in a while, I did take a chunk of items and that counted as one for me. The other rule I gave myself was I had a donate bag, a recycle bag, and a trash bag. And I did not allow myself to have a sell bag because I have items to sell and they sit around forever. It takes me so long. Either it's kids' clothes that are going to Once Upon a Child, or adult clothes going to Plato's Closet, or something that I want to list, like this crib on Facebook Marketplace. It's very difficult for me to feel the freedom and feel the fresh space and declutter vibes when these for sale items are just sitting in my house. So for this declutter specifically, I did not allow myself to have a sell bag. And I understand that I could make money off some of these things that I wasted money on. But here we are. I skipped selling, just I needed the stuff out of the house. And in the end, I think I ended up with 5 donate bags, 3 trash bags, and 1 recycle bag, which is huge. And thankfully, my husband actually, when he went out on Sunday morning, he took a bunch of the donate bags. So those are already gone. And I only have 2 donate bags left that need to go into my car and to the donation center. So those are the rules of the 500 item declutter. Anything goes. You may donate it, sell it, trash it, recycle it, however you can get it out of your home. You color your circles as you go. There's no rhyme or reason. You can color an 8, you can color 27, doesn't matter as long as at the end, every circle is filled in. I used sticky notes to keep track of my items as I went. So what did I actually declutter? That's the fun part about this. I didn't have to say, I'm going to sit in the kitchen and declutter this entire kitchen. I didn't go into my closet and say, I'm going to declutter clothes and I have to declutter, my entire closet before I can move on. I just needed to find 500 items across my home. So I decluttered the whole house in small windows of time, wherever I was with the kids or when they were gone on Sunday. I used that as my final push, but I didn't stick to one thing and make it completely perfectly decluttered every time. You will see in the clips that I spent a lot of time in my bathroom, and that I did declutter to the max. And to be honest, I didn't even touch my clothes. I could have gotten to 500 so much faster if I had started with my clothes, but I decided not to because I know there are a few problem areas that are hiding in my home. I did parts of the kitchen, like the mugs, that I usually avoid. I did junk drawers and random cords that I know I have too many of, but they never seem like they're important to declutter because they fit where they are I did the bathroom closet, which I have been avoiding pretty much since we moved in. I've just been piling things in there because it's easy to think that in the future, all these travel size things will be useful. Or what if the kids need this down the line? Or do I need 500 hair elastics? Probably not, but they fit. So if they fit, I have been avoiding it because we had the space. But to me, this declutter was about creating space, creating that negative space I talked about in my no buy video about having empty space where the eye can rest. I wanted to create that. I also spent a lot of time in my bedroom, in my home office space, because this requires a lot of mental energy. I have a lot of things in here that I have carted around with me from apartment to the house, from one office to the next office, my actual physical office I had with my sister to my home office. I just have a lot, a lot of things that hold a lot of emotional, physical, mental attachment to them. And I knew it would be difficult. And I knew that having this item count would help me in these areas for the first time. But I also know that that's why they've been holding a lot of that noise that I talked about as well in my no buy, the clutter that sends you signals and messages all day about, hey, you haven't done this. Hey, why don't you come back to me? Hey, why don't you clean me? I knew that those were the items that I needed to tackle. And those were in the bathroom closet, in my home office, downstairs in the junk drawers, the things that are out of sight, out of mind, except they're never really out of mind. So, my turning point during this declutter, where it truly sunk in that I was doing good work and it made it worth it to keep going instead of dropping the challenge after one day, was day 2. At the end of day 2, something shifted inside of me. I started letting go of things that I didn't expect I would ever be able to, like free makeup, those skincare samples that I've accumulated over a year or two. I didn't even check the expiration dates. I just tossed them because if I haven't used them by now, why do they need to stay? And that was the moment as I was dumping those into the trash, I realized I was changing. I wasn't checking expiration dates. I wasn't keeping them because they might still be good. I didn't care if they were still good. It was time for them to go. My decluttering muscles got stronger over the first 2 days. And by the end of day 2, they were strong enough for me to say, is it worth it to keep this, even if it's a good thing? And along that same vein, one of my biggest surprises was our tea drawer. We have had this tea since probably some of it in there was from 2018, maybe even 2016. There were probably over 200 tea bags, matchas from years ago. And I've been watching the Space Maker method on YouTube. And one of the latest series was Roberta, who said, I deserve fresh teas. And that clicked because I keep this tea just in case. I keep this tea so someone who might visit my home might want that Earl Grey. I don't drink Earl Grey. I don't drink in English breakfast tea, but I kept it in case someone else did. But don't they deserve fresh tea too? Keeping old things because throwing them out feels wasteful isn't contentment. I deserve to go out and buy tea bags that I will use and enjoy. This tea drawer is something that I have ignored or not included in all of my past declutterings because it felt wasteful. Tea bags don't go bad necessarily, they lose flavor and strength. And in my mind, that was a good enough reason to keep them. But this time, it wasn't. I started to get ruthless. And oddly enough, the living room closet I also have always avoided because it is full of just random categories. It has board games, it has medicine, it has heating packs, it has my daughter's puppet show stuff and her dress up stuff, it has 2 baby gates, it has chairs. It just has all these random categories that were, in a sense, much like the tea, in case I needed them. So I thought it would be really hard to go through that and be ruthless and say, but do I need this now? And yet I had built up these muscles. And by the time I got to that closet and went through everything, I was able to be ruthless. I was able to throw out things that I was keeping for a someday in the future. But really, that was just sending me that mental message every time I opened that closet saying, will you need me? Do you need me yet? Like, why am I waiting for the future? If I need it again in the future, I can go purchase it. But right now, I don't need it. I haven't needed it since we've been living here. So why do I still have it? I built the momentum over the few days. And I think that's important to note is that I didn't do 500 items in one day. I did it over 4 days in small windows of time. And that to me made it more sustainable. So by the time I got to the tea, by the time I got to the living room, I was able to sit down in that window of time and really make good progress. But along the way, I would be remiss to not mention that there were hard spots. There were things I got stuck on. There were things that took a lot of mental energy to let go of. The hardest part for me was this bedroom home office, as I mentioned. I had journals that were half filled, projects that I loved the idea of that I was half finished with, and things I had kept from college or high school because somebody gave them to me. I love tigers. That's my favorite animal. When I was living in my mom's house, I had a tiger room with shelves of just tiger like memorabilia kind of stuff, clutter, really. And someone gave me a plate that technically was like cheetah or leopard print. I think it was leopard print, but it was orange and black. And I think they gave it to me thinking orange and black tigers, she'll like this. I have kept that plate and it has sat in this cabinet over here since I moved out of my parents' house and no longer had my orange and black tiger shelves lined up in my bedroom. Why did I keep that? Because someone gave it to me, because they thought of me when they bought it, but it wasn't even tiger print. I didn't use it. I didn't put it out. I didn't want it to be a decorative tray because I don't really like leopards. I mean, I do. They're great, but they're not my animal. And I let go of that. Or there was also the Wreck-It journals. I don't know if you've heard of those. The whole point is to do this journal and wreck it. My problem is I am a bit of a perfectionist and I kept getting stuck, ironically, on these journals feeding my perfectionism instead of freeing me and helping me to just wreck it and not care. I worried about if I was wrecking it correctly, if I was tearing the pages messy enough. And that was not the point of them. So I have been frozen in fear of ruining the Wreck-It journal by not doing it bad enough that they have been sitting in my possession. Ooh, over 10 years, 12, 14 years. I had one that I bought, and that one was definitely like 2010. And I had another one given to me in like 2012, maybe. So, like 14 years later, I still can't pull those out. And I felt bad getting rid of them. I've held on to them this whole time, thinking if only I could just let go and do them correctly. And that is not the point of them. So I let them go. Once I crossed this line, and that was at the end of day 2, once I crossed this line of letting go of perfectly good things, then something unlocked. I started running everything through my filter that I'm using in my know by year of does this bring me contentment? Does this lead me down my path towards contentment? Not is this useful? Was it expensive? Did someone I love give it to me? But is this serving who I am now and who I want to be? Maybe 2012K would have loved that Wreck-It journal if I'd just sat down and done it and not worried about perfectionism. But having had it for 14 years now, it almost seemed like this monumental task that I could never complete. And that is not bringing me contentment. That's making me feel shame and bad about myself. So being able to start running everything through this filter changed everything about my decluttering. I took notes along the way. Day 1, I started with 174 items. I did a solid chunk, the most on day one, because I had that motivation, which is what I'm saying when I say doing the day one, one item, day two, two items isn't great for me because I have motivation out the gate. Day one, 174. Day two was 101 items. Day three was only 86 items, but I also had a very busy day three, a lot of time with the kids and a lot of time in the morning that I could not spend decluttering. And then day four, my husband took the kids out of the house so I could finish, and I did 139 items. But I still had the most on day one, 174. But I kept up a steady stream where it was about the same each day. So after I assigned that filter to everything, I kept going and I dug in because you know what happens on day four? Day four is when you have to start thinking about what to declutter. You've passed through the easy things. You've passed through the I've ignored this in the past things. And now you are especially attuned to the I've been holding on to this too long and it is time to decide if this needs to go. I found that I was counting down, whittling down little amounts, saying, like, there's 90 left, there's 70 left, there's 23 items left. Where do I go next? And I had to get really into it. I had to look places I hadn't thought to look. I went into my daughter's closet, which can be hard because I love her clothes, the clothes that she has. I think of memories in them and they're so cute, but I got rid of them, the things that no longer fit her, things that I haven't been able to declutter because she's home and likes to hold on to items. I also went through some of her stuffed animals. And honestly, as much as I loved my stuffed animals growing up, my stuffed animals are not her favorite. And I was actually able to declutter 4 or 5 stuffed animals from her pile that were mine that really just sit at the bottom that she doesn't care about. And I didn't have the same emotional attachment because it was day four and I was excited to hit 500 items. I was so close. And then finally, I rounded out with random cords because we all have too many cords. Every electronic device we get comes with a cord. Most of them are all switching to USB-C, and I don't need those other ones. And I was able to finish out my last 9 items by going through a cord box under my TV and just getting those out of here. And then I hit 500 items, decluttered. I filled in my last circle and I felt so proud. It's kind of amazing because I have done a ton of decluttering, but after this one, I felt it immediately. I was tidying up the spaces, getting the house put back in order, cleaning up the other things that were keeping, like the toys and the stuff that was just out. I was dusting around objects that I wanted to keep, not that I felt obligated to keep. I wasn't trying to put away things and find home for things that I didn't love. There was empty space in the closets, on the shelves. I felt the calm and the peace that comes from that negative space. And within just 24 hours, I feel freer in my home. Sitting here in my office space, I see things now. I'm like, I could get rid of that. I don't need that. But I also feel the freedom from knowing that this cabinet next to me, it's full of good arts and crafts supplies. It's full of office things that I actually use. It's full of things that have a purpose and a meaning now. But a lot of what this 500 item declutter taught me, aside from letting go of things that no longer are serving me right now, even if it's good, is how much this whole thing relates to my soft season, my leaving over consumption behind, and the no buy for 2026 and why I'm doing that. Because a lot of what I let go of entered my life in the last 5 years, especially 2020. TikTok exploded. Influencers started just shilling ads left and right. Buying felt like a comfort thing because we were all stuck at home. So many of these items are money that I wasted in the last few years that could have been in my bank, in my savings, or spent on a trip now. By going through these items and letting go of them, even though they were good or they were okay, or I thought I needed them, when I bought them, I was forced to confront this overconsumption that had consumed my life that I am now trying to leave behind. And in doing so, it's defining my commitment to my no buy. I think it's a great time to do this in the beginning of the year as you're trying to settle into a no buy, or however you're doing it, a low buy for the new year, because I realize I don't want to bring more into my house that later down the road I have to do this again. I don't want to manage it. I don't want to store it. And then I don't want to have to just let it go like I have been a warehouse for the next 5 years. And this video truly isn't about minimalism. It's not about hating everything you have or having nothing. It's not a challenge that even you have to do. But it was something that helped me realize that the real breakthrough happens after all the easy stuff is gone, after the quick surface level passes are complete. What do you have to do? You have to dig deeper. And I dug so deep that I had a huge mental shift. And I dug deep enough that I believe 2026 will be different for me. Now we're getting pretty long winded in this video, and I'm sorry, but I just had so many thoughts and feelings as I finished this that I wanted to share it with you right away. As an accountability coach, I talk about productivity a lot to myself, to my clients, to people around me who want to listen, but peace matters just as much. The calmer my home feels, the calmer my life feels. The better I feel about getting up and starting my day, not feeling like I have a bunch of things to manage. I don't think I'm done. I think this is kind of just the beginning of what I'll be doing for the rest of this year. But it was the gamification of the 500 items and being able to physically count and see how many items left that has changed me into how I will declutter going forward. If this video does anything for you, I hope it helps you gently reflect on what you're holding on to that might actually be creating more stress than comfort. I don't want this to feel like pressure, just mindfulness and awareness. So thanks for being with me today. If you feel like it, drop a comment down below. I'd love to hear something you're decluttering, something you're clearing out of your life to make space for contentment. And if you want to see more like this, I have big plans for this year to really show up here in this space to share with you how I'm doing on my journey to contentment, to share with you my soft season so that you can find a place on the internet that feels softer for you to land to. So like, subscribe, and follow along to the next one. I'll see you soon.